November 24th, 2013. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 34 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall, and as usual, here's Dr. Mike.
Hello.
So we're doing kind of a late or an early podcast this week because of all the holidays and everything coming up.
Thanksgiving coming up.
Yep. And you've got you've got a Vegas trip coming up here.
Yep. Right after Thanksgiving, the week after. Going to go to Las Vegas for the Caesars Great Gift Wrap-Up.
Yeah, and you went through this last year, right?
Right, yeah. And it's great because it's a promo they have where you earn points all throughout the year. How you earn them, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I really have no idea. I mean, they have some events where it's like, oh, you can get double gift wrap points today or something, but it's based on your play, I suppose.
Yeah, it's sort of, I guess you sort of accrue them just like you do reward credits.
Right,
through
but
Caesars,
they're separate from your reward credits.
Yeah.
And anyway, you can use these points to buy gifts. And I mean, last year we got a ton of them. You know, things like one of those Dyson cordless vacuum cleaners my wife got. I mean, she picked out stuff she wanted and purses and everything. I mean, we must have come home with like 25 or 30 items. So
nice. And you don't actually bring them home. They mail them to you.
They ship them. They drop ship them all to you.
So you have to go to Vegas to take part in the event.
Right. And there's two times. It's like the first week in December and there's one in, I think, the first week of November or something.
Yeah.
But you've got to go to one of those two things and you've got to order them there at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas.
So you're going to be there on December 7th and 8th. That's the Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday. Right. Yeah, actually, we're getting in Friday night. But
you're going in late Friday night.
Friday night. Late.
See, you know, I'd like to go. And I was even thinking, maybe I'll do just an up and back. Like I'd drive up on Friday night or, come back on Saturday and meet you guys. But I was looking, the points that I have, it only adds up to about $100.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, gosh, do I want to drive all the way to Vegas real quick?
Drive with us Friday night.
Yeah.
Go first thing Saturday morning, order your stuff and fly back on the next flight out.
On the fly back, which will cost me more than $100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you'll go to the craps table first.
Uh-huh.
You'll win your flight ticket.
I will?
Yeah, that's how it works.
Is it a guarantee?
It's a guarantee, yeah.
All right.
I think they have a promo where you
you get a free 7.
Yeah, you get one free 7.
Right. You say, no roll. That's what you get to call.
I'm waiting for that promo.
I'll have to grab that book. I read a book quite a while ago, an old book written by a guy who was a casino host. And for one of his guests, I don't know how this happened, but the guest was told that once during the trip he could call a free 7, meaning if there was a 7 out on the table, he could say, okay, I'm going to take my free 7. That roll doesn't count.
Uh-huh.
And he fell for it. Now, if you were told that you get a free 7, wouldn't you put all your money that you have out on the table? You know you can't lose.
Right. And then when the 7 came up, you just, okay, I'm taking my free 7. Then pull all my bets down.
This guy fell for it anyway. All right. Tell him about what happened to your mom.
Oh, so anyway, this weekend, we just got back from Atlantic City. So what happens? My dad and brother decide they're going to go to Laughlin, and they took my mom. And I guess they went because my brother had some free gifts coming from like 3 different casinos there.
Yeah.
So he wanted to pick them all up. So they drove out to Laughlin. And for those of you who've never been to Laughlin, don't go unless you're over 65.
Yeah.
Okay? Because it is a large group of elderly people.
Or I guess if it's during the summer and you want to just go into the water.
If you want to go on the river and stuff. Yeah, this time of year, there's not a lot of people there for the river. So it's mainly elderly people. My brother said the casino is packed from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Then from 8 to midnight, it kind of dwindles down. And after midnight, there's like, he said the one craps table with like 2 people on it.
Yeah.
Because they're all asleep.
Yeah.
So
except your dad.
Except my dad.
Your 88-year-old dad.
Who was up all night. Well, most people aren't that hardcore.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's not doing too well, I guess.
Your dad's not doing too well?
No, I called him this morning and he's down. And my brother's about even, mostly because he's been giving his winnings to my dad. So he'd be up if he hadn't given.
Oh, to give your dad because he's run out of money?
He keeps giving my dad money because he's run out. So, But my mother has not lost.
Uh-huh.
And I mean everything. She plays mostly slots, but every slot machine she's walked away a winner that she sat at.
Okay.
She went to play craps with my brother, just walked up to the table. He made a couple of bets for her. Then she got the dice. And according to my brother, there's no fire bet at Harrah's in Laughlin.
Huh. Okay. That's
no
surprising.
fire bets.
All right.
And he said it's the only Caesars casino that he's seen that doesn't have a fire bet.
Yeah. Well, that's strange.
So, but for whatever reason, no fire bet. But my mother rolled, and he said if there had been a fire bet, she would have hit all 6 numbers twice.
On the same hand?
Same hand.
Oh my
Said
God.
she rolled and rolled and rolled, made every point. He put $5 on the line for her with just $10 odds, and she made one $5 come bet with odds. So she always had 2 numbers. That's all she did. And she still, cashed out for $400 or $500.
Oh my gosh, we would have made a killing.
Oh yeah. He came back. My brother was down. He came back, won all of his money back plus $500 or $600 more.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Twice?
Yeah, twice.
Wouldn't it be great
He
if you
said, Mike, you would have had $10,000 if it had been like 2 rolls. It would have just been $10,000.
Twice.
Yeah.
It'd be great if you could, like, as soon as she hit all 6, they just pay you, and then you can make another
fire bet, right?
You would
Yeah, start over again.
Oh
so here, we've never hit a fire bet.
Not for 6. Not
for
6 out of
6.
6, which
We-
pays
yeah.
1,000 to 1.
1,000 to 1. We've done 5.
We've hit 5
We've
a
had
couple
multiple
times, yeah.
4s.
A lot of
But
4s, yeah.
We've never hit 6. So my mother goes to a casino that doesn't have the fire bet,
Mm-hmm.
which is still a Harrah's property,
Mm-hmm.
and does it twice.
Yeah.
What is our problem?
We've got a lot of problems, but that's the least of it, I think.
Well, I don't know. It's getting high on my list of things that piss me off.
Right.
I mean, it's right. It's getting close to the mop bucket. Okay.
Wow.
Of things that piss
You're
me off.
really upset. We used to work at a restaurant. Mike and I both worked at a restaurant together. And this mop bucket, couldn't they spring for another mop?
No,
it was miserable.
It was a terrible mop bucket.
So
I'm still pissed off over that. That was 40 years ago.
All right. So, one of the listeners that we met up with in Atlantic City was Ed. We had a great time with him, and he sent us an email after our trip. He said, we love this. Here is a money management tip for the podcast. I think that recreational gamblers would benefit if they only used funds set aside in a separate bank account for gambling. Many people use the term 401g account. It's a play on, 401k. Instead, you call it a 401g, G for gambling. It's money for entertainment, so winning increases it and losses don't affect one's finances. So this is great advice.
Yeah.
And
it is very good advice. There's only one problem.
What's that?
How do you fund the 401g when it's empty?
Yeah.
So if I have, 10,000 in my 401g and I go to Vegas and have a bad trip and I've lost all 10,000, when I come home, how do I fund that 401g?
Okay, I have your answer because I actually do have like a 401g account. My wife handles all the finances. Right?
Which is good.
Yeah. The paycheck comes in, she pays all the bills, right? She does it. She's not a gambler. She handles it, right? So I've got my separate.
It's the reason where you have this house we're in right now.
That's right. So I have a 401g and it is funded. Here's how you fund it. You ready?
Yeah.
Every week, you host a poker home game
All right.
with your friends who don't play poker very well.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And that's how you fund it.
Mary's probably going to hear this. Okay?
Oh, I know. She's fine with it. I think she has fun at poker night. No.
She plays. We're teasing. She plays good, but she has some bad luck.
So you fund it with poker, although, well, I may lose for poker for the year.
Yeah, but you are on a winning streak.
I'm on a winning streak. I'm in the black now, so hopefully I can get through the end of the year. But that's how you do it, Mike.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what I got to set up. But then we're going to have a lot of poker home games.
Yeah, every night I've got to. You're trying to get all your friends to come over. Just come over again tonight, please.
Well, the problem is
I
need a bigger 401g than you, so I've got to get some better friends.
Yeah, you need friends with more money who play poker worse.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, any volunteers out there, please email. You can bet on that.
So Ed went on to say, even better is what I jokingly call an offshore 401g. It is money that a spouse knows nothing about. That's good too.
That's good too.
I love that.
That's actually a very important thing. The offshore 401g.
That's right.
That's your emergency. That's when you're out of your 10,000.
That's right.
You go into the 401g.
That's
offshore.
right. As long as you're not going into, your spouse's account,
right,
to fund the offshore, right? Because then you're going to be in front of a subcommittee answering questions.
Right. Your children and your wife grilling you.
That's right. You got to go way up to. I have no knowledge of that.
How do you fund your 401g offshore?
Yeah, that's
harder.
That is harder. Yeah. So when we went to Atlantic City, we kept going on and on about how great the 7-star lounges were.
Right.
Where we got, so again, Caesars Entertainment, they have different tiers of for the Players Club. And 7 stars is the highest one, and you're a 7 stars member.
Right.
So when we were in Atlantic City, you were able to get us into these basically restaurants.
Yeah.
That are
exclusive restaurants
for 7 stars. And we were wondering why we'd never even heard of a 7 stars lounge before.
Yeah.
And you found out this last week.
Yeah. My wife did research on it and found out that Atlantic City is the only place that has them.
Yeah. Well, not the only place I looked, but the key is Vegas doesn't have them. Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, that's why we hadn't heard of them. Yeah.
And from what she found out is the reason that they do have them in Atlantic City is because they have a lot of day trippers. They have a lot of people who come down on the train from New York, Philadelphia, Boston, wherever, and just spend the day in Atlantic City and go back that night. And, it makes sense for them. They don't want those people stopping and having a 2-hour meal.
Yeah.
They want them to eat quick and get back out there and gamble. So.
Yeah, that does make sense. Yeah, because people who go to Vegas, they're not day trippers
No, it's a destination.
Right.
You're there for 3 days.
At least. Well, you and I are there for 3 days. Other people are there for a week.
Yeah, some people are there for a long time. Yeah. And when they go, they want to enjoy their restaurants, and there's no reason for them to give them free food like that.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. Well, I guess that's why their diamond lounges are also better than the ones in Vegas.
Right.
They're like buffets, kind of get them in and out, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Now, my brother said this morning when I talked to him, the Diamond Lounge at Harrah's in Laughlin is pretty good, but not nearly as good. It's better than Rincon here.
Right.
But it's not as good as Atlantic City or even the one at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And, that kind of makes sense too. Laughlin's out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. And the only way you're going there is if you're staying for a day or two, or you're crazy like my dad, and who's basically there for yesterday. I mean, they got there yesterday at noon, and they're leaving this morning.
Oh, so just
home.
like an overnight. Yeah.
Yeah, an overnight thing. But most people stay there 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, it makes me feel better because we hadn't heard of them. And it's like, what? We've got a gambling podcast.
Right.
I mean, how
were we left out of the loop?
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, speaking of ignorance, we got a follow-up email from Jason, who goes by Buffalo Yo. He had emailed us, and we talked about it a couple episodes ago, about he had suggested that we mention how listeners can get casino comps by using some Facebook apps that Caesars Entertainment and M Life have created. Well, one thing he mentioned that I didn't pick up on is that there is a program called Social Rewards that is partnered with Caesars Entertainment, and they will reward you with comps when you post to your Facebook account.
Post things about Caesars.
Yeah, it's kind of like advertising. It's like a marketing tool for them.
Yeah,
is that
right.
you link your Facebook account with this Social Rewards, and it's socialrewards.com. I'll put a link up onto it. And then you post, things that basically help them market.
What do you post? Like, I love Caesars every day? You can do that every day and get comps?
I'm not sure exactly what the posts are, but Buffalo Yo was saying that, what he does is he just posts and keeps the message like private so that it doesn't go out to the world, but he still gets the comps for it.
Right.
So
post just to his friends.
Yeah. Like well, not even that, right? I mean, not even you can do it like completely privately. Well, anyway, I'm going to post a link to it. It's socialrewards.com. You link up your Facebook account to it there, and you accrue these rewards, just reward credits that you can use as comps for to use at Caesars properties.
That'd be a good thing for somebody, like if you don't gamble a lot, but you're planning a trip and you want to have some comps.
Yeah.
I mean, get some meals and
build it up and then go
and then go. Right.
So thanks for that tip from Buffalo Yo. He also gave us some Atlantic City tips that we used on our recent trip. He was telling us about the Borgata $100 thing, and he was telling us about how the roulette rules are a little bit different there. So
yeah, he had some great info.
Yeah. We got another email from listener Dan. He said, have you gambled in other states or countries, and what types of differences have you noticed in the casinos that vary by region? He said there's lots of movies, books, and radio shows that talk about gambling in Nevada and New Jersey, but very few that talk about the rest of the world. And yeah, that is kind of true. I've gambled in a few more states. You've gambled
I've gambled in some other states, but also like in Wiesbaden, Germany. I went to the casino there. That was interesting because it's you have to wear a coat and tie, which sucks. I mean, what is up their butt?
They're just
a coat and tie in a casino.
They figure if you're wearing a coat and tie, you're less likely to, damage the place, to, do some,
something stupid.
Yeah,
they haven't met me then, right? Is that their problem?
You're going to be on better behavior if you dress nicely. Less vandalism.
Yes, vandalism. Maybe that's true. I don't know. But anyway, the limits were much higher.
Okay.
It was not a place where you could just walk in. I think the reason is to keep the riffraff out.
Well,
they just,
Yeah.
But it's funny because if you don't have a suit and tie, you just get one at the door. They rent you one.
Oh, okay.
They rent you a jacket and a tie, and you put it on, around your T-shirt. So, I've got my X-Men T-shirt with a tie on and a jacket. It looked kind of stupid, but what the heck?
But when you were as far as the casino went, was there anything significantly different about how the mechanics of the games, or it had slot machines?
They had slot machines. Okay. They had higher limits. It was small. And it was more compartmentalized, like the slots were over here, and then over here were the table games. They weren't intermixed. And if I remember correctly, there were no craps.
Yeah, craps is not a big game in Europe. So.
Yeah, no, it was baccarat and blackjack.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Well, I wrote back to Dan and basically said that I don't know about, casinos in other parts of the world, but certainly within the United States, I don't think there's a lot of difference when you go from casino to casino. I think it's pretty superficial, or, some rules are better here and there, but.
Yeah, they have little quirks. I was on a lake in Lake Pontchartrain in, Louisiana, and they have a casino there on the lake. The only thing different about that place, everything was the same as you'd find in Vegas, really, except that they had a rule that the boat had to leave the dock for an hour once a day.
Yeah.
So at midnight, all of a sudden there's this bell and we're like, well, what's that? And, the boat's leaving. What? The boat's leaving. So it went out in the middle of the lake and then, stayed there for a certain amount of time and then came back. It was like an hour, but you couldn't get off. So, if you wanted to leave, the bell was like, get off the boat if you want off.
Oh, stupid law. So Dan did go on to say, he said, I'm really interested in Oklahoma. It has more casinos than any other state than Nevada, but nobody talks about it. And Oklahoma does have a lot of casinos. Here's the problem with Oklahoma casinos, as I understand it. It's still a state where the house cannot bank table games. So they've got, all the slot machines and everything, but when it comes to table games, a player at the table has to act as the house.
Yeah, which is
has to bank the game.
How it started in California.
Yeah,
they changed that fairly quickly.
Right, that used to be the way it was in California. So you can go and you can play blackjack in Oklahoma, but you're going to be playing against another player at the table who's acting as the bank, has a lot of money out there to cover everybody's bets. And the way that the real house makes the money is they collect like a surcharge, a commission from every player for each hand.
A tax.
Yeah. So if you're going to play blackjack, you've got to pay 50 cents each hand up front just to play.
Now, does it depend on your bet? Is it 50 cents for the first $5?
I think it is
a percent.
I think it depends on the casino, but usually it's like, 50 cents up to like $50 and, $1 if you hit $100 and then $1 more for each 100 after. I think it does depend on your bet. Yeah. But, so you've got
which is funny because they do no more work whether you're betting $500 or $5, right?
Right.
I mean, it's not like the dealer does more work or anything.
No.
So why is there a different commission? Why wouldn't it just be everyone just pays $1 every time?
I don't know. And maybe it is. I don't know. I've never been to
It's a moneymaker
Oklahoma.
for the state.
Yeah.
It's what it is.
Well, for and the thing, so you've got to pay up front for every hand, and then you play your blackjack hand, and then you still have to beat the house edge on that. So,
right.
I mean, if it's the only game in town, what are you going to do? But it's unfortunate that that's the way the law is. Hopefully Oklahoma will change the law like California did, 20 years ago, and not quite that long ago, but allow them to bank, house.
We should look into banking craps.
Oh, that's the other thing. No craps in Oklahoma as a result, too.
Let's get one and we'll bank it. We'll have single odds.
Okay.
And we discourage you taking them. We encourage you making prop bets.
That's right. We'll pay single on the 2 and 12 in the field.
Yeah, right.
Right. All right. We'll look into that. Anyway, thanks for the email, Dan. If any other listeners too have some interesting facts about casinos outside the American gambling meccas like Las Vegas or Atlantic City that's significant, let us know. It's one thing to say, oh yeah, at this casino they have, 20 times odds on craps. Well, that's not all that interesting, rule changes here and there. But are there things that are really significant that maybe our listeners would like to know? Drop us a line.
You should ask my brother. He's gambled in the Bahamas and in Spain. And he's gambled a lot around the world.
Ask him if he's seen anything that, is really kind of a head turner when it comes to going to.
If somebody's my brother hasn't been to Macau, I'd like to.
Oh, yeah. That would be Macau. Yeah.
I'd like to see how that is.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to our poker home game segment for this episode. This is the segment of the show where we talk about poker games that you would not find in a casino's poker room, but that you might play with your buddies when you get together for a home game. And listener Mark sent us a tweet a while back. It actually was quite a while back. And I've been thinking about how we're going to answer this question for so long. And I thought, we finally just have to talk about it. But he sent us a tweet asking if we knew of any poker games that are good for just 2 players. And we did kind of come up with a list. The reason I know that sometimes we need 2-player poker games for those times when we've got a home game planned and there are only 2 of us there, and we're waiting for everybody else to show up.
Right, and that happens quite frequently.
And let me just say, too, just as an aside, if you're going to a poker home game, and it's like one that is like a spur of the moment or something that's not a regular game, right? I can't tell you how many times I've been invited to a poker home game. Okay, 7:00, and I get there at 7, and I sit there with the host until 8:00 when everybody else shows up.
Right.
It's one thing if it's a cocktail party and you want to be, socially late and what have you. That's fine. But a poker game, you need the players there.
Right.
So, if it's 7:00 for a poker game, show up at 7.
Well, let's admit it. There's a lot of things about home poker games that drive us crazy, us in particular.
Yeah, I know.
And, we have a regular game. We start at 7. And, most people are there by 7:15 because we all know that, we need to start.
Right.
But when we've gone to other games, we've had problems with that. And it drives us crazy because,
well, you're sitting around, and then when they do show up, like an hour late, then there's a half hour of socializing before you even sit down at the table.
Right, and then they also want, some guy gets up and goes to the bathroom. That drives me crazy. Oh, wait, I'll be right back. What? You're going to the bathroom? Or they're in the kitchen getting something to eat. I mean, we're here to play poker. Get your colostomy bag on. Eat your food before you play, and let's play poker.
All right. So I think we've made some good points about poker home games.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see if we can talk about some 2-player games. You can play, kind of the traditional games. Heads Up Texas Hold'em. I mean, sometimes we'll do that. And it's a different kind of a game. You're going to be playing a lot more hands, but maybe it's good practice for, if you ever end up in a tournament and you go all the way and you end up heads up with somebody. So it's not a bad game just to play regular Texas Hold'em and, kind of get a feel for what it's like playing just the 2 of you. You should be playing a lot more hands. And I think too, when you're playing just 2-handed Texas Hold'em, you're playing more poker, the strategies and, bluffing and what's the other guy have, right? Because it's just the 2 of you. And really you should be playing pretty much every hand. no matter what your two cards are. So
Right.
I think Texas Hold'em's not a bad two-player game.
Now, it turns out that I guess in Texas Hold'em, when there's two players, it's basically, I mean, you can win with 2-3 just as well as you can with ace king. Right?
Sure, yeah, right. Whereas if you're in a full table,
your chances are you're not.
Yeah, you need to have bigger hands. So Texas Hold'em. Also, I think just 7-card stud. I think actually 7-card stud's a pretty good game for just two people.
Yeah, very good. Game.
Kind of the classic poker game. You can see the other player's cards, and again, bluffing. Am I going from a straight? Do I have a straight? Do I just have a pair? Do I have nothing? There's a lot of that to consider. And 5-card draw also. I think another good game. Yeah. Again, it's like, okay, I draw 3, I draw 2. There's some bluffing there. It's like, oh, he drew 2. Does that mean he has trips? Is he going for a straight? I'm drawing 1. I'm drawing, I'm drawing 4. So you can kind of, again, there's some, strategy you can get going there. Now here we are it's our poker home game segment. Now all I've done is talk about games you actually can play in a casino. Right. But here's maybe a little variation too on a draw game. It's called 6 back to 5. It's 5-card draw, but you start with 6 cards. And then when you discard, you get 1 card less than the number that you discarded, so that you end up with 5 cards.
Right. So you eventually have a 5-card hand.
Right. So you start with 6 cards and you say, okay, I'm going to discard 3. And then that means you get 2 off the deck and you have 5. Right.
A little more interesting for two people too. Because
I think so.
Because you see more cards out of the deck.
Right.
Right. Otherwise it's, you're not seeing very many cards out of the deck.
Yeah. And the 6 card, I think it's significant. So try that. Or you can even go like to 7 cards. Start with 7 cards.
Sure.
And when you discard, you get,
you have to discard at least 2.
At least 2, right? Right. If you stand pat, right? But at a draw game, I think that's kind of fun for 2 players. So try that 5-card draw, or, a 6 back to 5, 7 back to 5, where you start with more than your 5 cards like that. Also, Pai Gow poker.
That's the best, really, for 2 people, I think.
If you're just trying to kill time, right? It's one thing if you're just waiting for more people to show up. It's something else if hey, Mike, come on over. Let's play 2-player poker tonight. Right. Come on. This will be fun. Just come over.
We're just sitting there after about 20 minutes. Oh, this sucks.
If anybody's doing that out there, a poker home game where you just call up your buddy and he comes over and you just play against each other, let us know. I'd like to hear about that.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, though. We play Pai Gow poker like when we're on an airplane.
Yeah, sure.
We sit and play against each other. It kills time.
Yeah.
When I was in junior high, I had this friend, and we would sit at his mom's kitchen table, which had a big window next to it, and we could see across the street to Kathy Clifton's house.
Right.
Okay. And we both thought she was just gorgeous.
Okay.
So we would sit there and we would play poker, the 2 of us, on a Saturday, waiting for Kathy to come out of her house and go somewhere.
Okay.
So we could see her. So if you're killing time to look at girls and you're, like 14, 15 years old, that's a good game to play, Pai Gow. We actually played gin rummy, but in those days.
Good advice, Dr. Mike. Thanks for letting everybody know about that. But yeah, just Pai Gow poker. You can take turns being the bank. I mean, when you're the bank, you have copy advantage. Or you could just say, oh, there's no copy advantage. If you tie, we just tie. And maybe just play for $1 a hand until the rest of the people start to show up. Oh, we would do that all the time. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And along the same lines, you could play Chinese poker. For those who don't know, it's similar to Pai Gow poker in a way, except you get 13 cards.
And you make 3 hands.
Yeah, you got to make a 5-card hand and another 5-card hand that's lower than the first 5-card hand, and then a 3-card hand that's lower than the second 5-card hand. Yeah. So Chinese poker, I know open-faced Chinese is another way to go. That's very popular with a lot of people. I saw one variation of Chinese poker called Russian poker, where it's the same kind of thing. If it's just the 2 of you, you put money into the pot to start with. You just agree that, okay, we're going to put in, $2 a piece, $5 a piece or whatever. That's the middle of the pot. And you make your hands like Chinese poker. It's called Russian poker. First you make your high 5-card hand, and then your middle 5-card hand, and then your 3-card low hand. It's not low ball. They all have, you're trying to make them all as high as possible, but 5-card hand, 5-card hand, 3-card hand. Then you compare hands, and whoever has the highest first 5-card hand gets a quarter of the pot. Whoever has the highest middle 5-card hand gets half the pot. And then whoever has the highest 3-card hand gets a quarter of the pot. You just split it up that way.
Yeah, it'd be a good way for two people to play.
Yeah, it's just a variation on Chinese poker.
To play on a plane.
Well, I think Chinese poker's hard to play on a plane anyway. We tried that once.
We tried it once.
You know, as long as there's not a lot of turbulence.
And I'm a terrible plane poker player.
Oh, you are terrible on the plane.
Yeah, on the plane. For whatever reason, you always end up, we get to Vegas and I've already lost $100 to Mark.
It is pretty incredible. We've gone and when we fly to Vegas, it's about an hour flight. And we start playing Pai Gow poker. And for whatever reason, he'll lose like 12 hands in a row. I mean, it's uncanny.
Yeah. And we play, I like the way we play. We play the first half of the flight is California rules.
Right. A lot of the California casinos, the joker's completely wild in Pai Gow poker.
Yeah, so we play that way. As we get to the halfway point, we have to switch to Vegas rules.
Right.
We're very strict about
where
that.
The joker's just aces, straights, and flushes.
Yeah.
Well, I love playing with you on the plane. That's how I fund my 401g.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's your 401g.
That's how I get it there, yeah. So those were really the only games we could come up with two-player. There wasn't anything that was real obvious, unless, like you said, you don't want to play poker, but you want to play like gin rummy or something like that.
Yeah, if it's just two guys hanging out.
Yeah.
Gin rummy's a great game to play.
Right, sure.
Hearts, something like that.
Yeah, you could play gin rummy for, a penny a point. I mean, however you want to do it, right? $1. Yeah, gin rummy's not a bad way to go. I will say this, though. If you're going to play poker two-player, stay away from split pot games.
Right.
Clearly.
Doesn't
right?
Because,
otherwise you're
split the pot again.
It's okay, good one. And, I would also stay away from wild card games just because wild cards are so powerful that, heads up, one guy's going to end up with a straight flush and the other guy's going to have jack high, right?
Well, any exposed cards, if you're playing a game where there's exposed cards, as soon as a guy sees you got a wild card and he doesn't have any, he folds, right?
Right.
It's pretty boring,
Yeah. So those are the two-player games, at least that we could come up with. If anybody else has some ideas about two-player games too, again, drop us a line. You can bet on that at gmail.com. Let's talk about one more game, not a two-player poker game, but since we have some time, and we're still in our poker home game segment, let's talk about another poker home game. This one is called Cincinnati. And it is a very simple kind of variation on Texas Hold'em. Well, as far as some of the mechanics go. But here's the way it works. Everybody gets 5 cards down. All players get 5 cards down.
Right.
And then 5 cards are dealt face down in the middle of the table. Right? So you ante at the beginning of the game, and then you can, structure the betting however you like. But once everybody has their cards, 5 cards down in the middle of the table, you have a betting round. Then 1 card is flipped up in the middle of the table. These are community cards.
Right.
And another betting round. Then the second card is flipped up and another betting round. So you continue like this until all 5 cards in the middle of the table are flipped up. And then at the end, whoever has the best poker hand using any combination of the 10 cards, the 5 in their hand and the 5 on their board, that wins.
Yeah.
And I had kind of forgotten about this game. We used to play this semi-regularly.
Yeah. The thing is, you can't play it with too many people.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because you're using a lot of cards right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly,
and that's the problem with our home game. A lot of times we have a full table.
Right.
So you get 8 people on a table.
Well, you could still even do that. You could do it with a full table. 8 times 5, that's 40 cards plus the 5 in the middle.
Yeah. It's just a lot of cards out there.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of cards. Right. But I think we're going to have to retract what you just said.
Okay.
Okay. You can play it with a full table.
Yeah. If 8's your full table.
Yeah. But, that's as simple as the game is. Now, obviously, you're going to have some pretty high hands because everybody's got 10 cards to work with.
Right. Well, and that's the thing when there's a full table. You're going to have high hands.
Yeah. You're definitely going to high.
It's probably a better game with like 4 people or something.
Yeah, right. You're not
3 or 4 people.
Yeah. But that's as simple as it is. Everybody gets 5 cards down, 5 cards in the middle. You make your poker hand. I think some nice variations. Again, have a high-low declare.
Right.
Right. Especially with that many cards out there.
It's always good.
10 cards. You're not going to have too many wheels unless you play like with wild cards or, big. That's another thing to do. I've played this game where at the end, whatever is the lowest board card becomes the wild card.
Right.
Right. So if the board at the end is, 3, 7, Jack, Queen, King, 3s are wild.
Right.
So all 3s are wild. Plus everybody has at least
so
1/3,
wild,
from the middle.
Right.
Then you get some big hands.
Right. Or you could make the last card you turn over wild.
That's good too, right?
Or you can make the lowest card in your hand wild, and if any of them pair in the middle,
right,
it's wild as well.
So a lot of variations. That could be applied to almost all the poker home games we've talked about.
Right.
But the key is 5 cards down, 5 cards in the middle, 10 cards to play with big. That's called Cincinnati.
Have you ever noticed that all of these games are like Midwestern names? Cincinnati, Ohio, Chicago.
Yeah, that's true.
They're all
Omaha
Midwestern.
and
Omaha.
Yeah.
And you know why? Because
Why?
it's cold in the Midwest.
Yeah, and they got to
play
find
a lot
something
of
to do.
cards.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
all my wife's relatives in Minnesota. I mean, they're all big card players. They played cards all winter long.
Yeah, I'd love to find out how these games got their names, like Chicago, Cincinnati. There's no way we'd be able to find it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But especially something like Cincinnati, which most people haven't even heard of.
Right.
Where did that come from? But
they
it's
all have origins. Weird.
Somewhere.
It's like when we tried to look up boobs, where that came from.
Boobs?
Yeah, boobs.
Where the
Yeah, we looked it up.
You did?
Yeah, I looked it up.
Oh, I see. I did. I thought you wanted me to do the research on it.
Well, Lynn finally did it.
Oh,
It's
okay.
either you or my wife. Someone has to do research for me.
Okay.
So, it's got a weird origin. They actually argument over where it came from, and it goes way back to like the 1600s and stuff.
All right, let's take this off air. We'll talk about it.
Yeah,
All right.
we'll discuss boobs later.
Sounds good. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. Hey, be sure to download our app for your mobile device. You'll get access to all our episodes, quick links to contact us via Twitter, Facebook, and email. And as an extra bonus, you get TV listings showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks. I update those listings every Wednesday using a program I wrote myself to search through all the raw American TV data. And those listings are only available on our app. So to download our app, go to our webpage, youcanbetonthat.com, and on the left-hand side of the page, click on the link that says how to download our app. We have a link for Android devices and another one for iPhones and iPads. Also, we'd love to hear from you. You can email us with questions and comments at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. Or you can leave us a short voice message by going to our webpage and clicking on Send Us a Voice Message. That'll open up a dialogue where you can leave a message up to 90 seconds long using the microphone on your computer or mobile device. Also, follow us on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat. We always tweet when we're in a casino or on our way to a casino, and we love to meet up with you. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/YouCanBetOnThat. And finally, head on over to iTunes and write us a review. When you do, it helps us get new listeners. Dr. Mike, what else?
Well, I just want to say I will be at the craps table at Caesar's Palace on Saturday, December 7th.
Yeah.
I most likely will be there most of the day.
Okay, and I will be tweeting on your behalf
Okay.
where you are. So if any listeners want to meet up with you, again,
Yeah.
Mike's there on, December 7th and 8th, but really the 7th is when you're going to be there the whole time,
The whole
right?
time, yeah. The 8th, I don't know when we're leaving.
Yeah,
but
and you're driving.
we're
so-
driving, yeah, because we're taking my dad in his scooter. And,
Oh, okay.
and my brother's going to go. He's going to drive separately from L.A.
All
and
right, so
my wife will be there. I need to get my mother there and win a fire bet is what I need.
No kidding. So if anybody wants to meet up with you, it's basically to be on December 7th.
Right.
That thing, yeah. Okay, very good. All right, we'll talk to everybody again.
Good night.